Zenith Books, short-run publisher. Hi, I'm Gary Lovisi, and we're going to take a look at Zenith Books today. This is in response to a comment on one of the episodes that we did earlier, where somebody says they'd like to see some Zenith books, and I says, hey, yeah, that's a good idea. And so here it is. The Zenith book series started in 1958 and ran to 1960. They did 44 books, and the numbers were ZB1 to ZB44. I have 42 of the books. I'm missing 2 of them, and we're going to run through them and show you all of them that I have right now. Interesting thing about Zenith books is the earlier books were regular paperback size, and then when they did the books in the 1960s, the last maybe 9 or 10 of them were short size. So which was a change very different from most publishers. Most publishers started out with a short size paperback, and then they went to the taller size paperback, which the common book that we all know. But the Zenith book seems to go backwards. They were published out of Rockville Center, New York, in New York City, and they had some paperback originals. They had some good crime books in the series, and some reprints. So here, without further ado, we're going to take a look at the series now, starting with number 1, The Sisters by Charles Jackson, from 1958, from July 1958, and this is a first book edition of his stories. I cannot make out the name of the artist, cover artist. A lot of the cover artists were really, they had some of the best cover artists doing covers for this series, including Rudy Nappy and many others. That's ZB1. ZB2 is All Over Town by George Milburn, kind of a comedy novel. ZB3 is Johnny Purple by John Wiley, hard-boiled crime, a gripping novel of men who set the skies ablaze. And the back covers of these are all similar, just basically a little bit of advertising about the book. ZB4 is Die Screaming by Joe Pagano. Hot, hard-boiled novel. She was hungry for a man, but she had not reckoned on a killer. ZB number 5 is Best Cartoons from Argosy, and this is a cartoon book. And in the back cover they show some cartoons, and of course inside, from Argosy magazine. Nice book. ZB6, they're getting into religion, the Oral Roberts Reader, by Oral Roberts, the preacher. So you've got like hard-boiled crime, cartoons, sexy cartoons, religious book. Basically, Zenith was kind of all over the place. It looked like they were trying to become a major publisher and appeal to all tastes and styles, but their main strength is in the hard-boiled area. I mean, but they did even publish science fiction. So one of the best books in the series, ZB7, The Girl from Hateville, and that's Gil Brewer. They were all out to get him, even the doll with the hungry eyes. And this was this is a reprint. This was originally the Angry Dream. ZB number 8 I do not have. That's one of the 2 books that I don't have. That's Adventure in Paradise by Emil Schumacher. So number 8 I don't have. I can't show you that. That's one of the 2 that I don't have. ZB number 9 is The Man Without a Face by John Eugene Hasty. He was trapped by the hottest body in town. Number ZB10 is Rawhiders by Tom Rohn. So they have a Western now. They threw their guns into a Wyoming war. And again, the back covers are kind of not much design, not much fancy about them, but the covers are nice. So now they're doing hard-boiled crime, noir with Gil Brewer, and in Western. So you've got ZB11 is The Long Desire by Max Weatherby. The girls on the main street agreed he was the smoothest lover in town, and this is another novel about jailbait. ZB12 is The Rascal's Guide. Rascal was a magazine and kind of a sexy men's magazine like Rogue and all of those. Naughty Women and How to Tame Them, which is something men have been trying to do for a long time without success. ZB13 is The Three Legions by Gregory Salon, and I think it's a Raymond Everett Kinsler cover. This is a sexy historical novel about the during days of the Roman Empire. So now we're all over the place. You've got hard-boiled crime. You've got a sexy book that's supposed to help rascals meet and find women. You have a licentious ancient novel about ancient Rome, and then you have an original novel, ZB14, The People Maker by Damon Knight, which is actually says an original novel. This is A is for anything, but this is the original edition of it, and I think that's Powers cover. I think that's Richard Powers cover art. ZB15 is Etched in Murder. It's 20 Crimes That Rocked the Nation. This is true crime. So they have science fiction, true crime, historical adventure.
That looks like Maguire. Is it?
This one. This one?
No.
Which one?
The little corner in orange.
Maybe. Yeah, could be. I don't know. Doesn't say. ZB16 is Lystrosada by Fletcher Flora, and this is a kind of a science fiction noir novel, Rudy Nappy cover art. Fletcher Flora wrote a lot of hard-boiled crime and in the noir vein. ZB17 is Death of the Party by Ruth Fennesong. This is from 1959. She wrote a lot of traditional mystery crime novels. Another great book here is ZB18. This is a paperback original. Blonde Bait by Ed Lacey. She had to buy protection and her payment was her body. And that's, again, Rudy Nappy cover. There's his signature there. Here's Nappy's signature here. ZB19 is Deadly Doll by Henry Kane. Originally it was called A Corpse for Christmas. This is from 1959. The cover art is by Ron Lesser, and it is signed down here. ZB20 is Fall Girl by Richard Deming. Any man could have her, even her husband's killer. So they're getting more and more into the hard-boiled crime noir area, which is where Zenith books will actually be focused, and where it will have major interest by collectors. This good girl art, hard-boiled crime noir with great sexy girl cover art, great leg art on Fall Girl, great Nappy cover, Ron Lesser cover art. So this is where Zenith is going, and this is where they will become prime collectibles for paperback collectors and also for mystery and crime readers. Number ZB21 is Young Sinner by Elizabeth Gill, a teenage girl, an evil man, a shocking love trap. So that's that one. Some of these you see around once in a while, but a lot of them you don't. There's some of these you don't see that often. Don't know why. I don't think they were distributed that well. ZB22 is Georgia Girl by Bart Frame. Originally this was Maybelle, which was a Croydon Digest from 1954. So this is reprinting a Croydon Digest. And it's from 1959. ZB23 is A Fine Private Place by Anne Hebson, a searing novel of incest and love in the Deep South. So again, sexy, sleazy novel. Young sinner, jailbait, teenage girl. They're even getting into a little bit more risque area. And they're going to get into even more. I'm going to move these over on the side. And we're going to start with the new pile with ZB24. Paperback original from 1959. Moran's Woman by Day Keane. Classic hard-boiled crime noir novel. This is Betty Page, and the cover art is by Jack Faragasso. I had Jack as a guest at my show a couple of years, and he brought some of the original photos for this photo shoot that he used to create this art, and even some of the other art on some Beacon books where he used Betty Page as the model. So it was really cool to meet him, to talk with him, and to have him show us the original model photos that he took of Betty Page to create this cover painting and other paintings that he did, like for on some of the Beacon books. And this my copy signed by Jack, and it's really cool to have that.
He's teaching art in the city too. At that time he was.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's about what, 10 years ago.
Easy.
Yeah. One of my favorite authors is William Campbell Galt, and Zenith book 25, ZB25, is The Sweet Blonde Trap. And it's originally Run Killer Run, a Dell book. And this reprints the Dell. Now they've gotten even into nurse books, where ZB26 is Nurse's Quarters by Sylvia Erskine. That may be a Maguire cover. I'm not sure, but it certainly looks a little Maguire-ish. ZB27, Wayward Nymph by Elizabeth Gill. One man after another. She had to have them all. And it says Bad Girl in Town. God bless her. That's Wayward Nymph. Number 28 is Your Body and Its Care by Richard E. Winter, MD, A Guide to Health and Beauty, What Every Woman Must Know. So now you have a nonfiction book about beauty and health care. It's just like, I don't know what, I think the problem with this publisher is they didn't know what they were doing. If they would have just published hard-boiled crime, they would have really done well, but they did all these different things, sticking them in there, different subjects. Even though the hard-boiled crime books are reprints, they're still good. They have great cover art. They probably sold, but they seem to not have a real focus. Zenith book number ZB29 is Sweet and Deadly by Philip MacDonald and A. Boyd Correll. She drove him from love to madness and then to murder. Originally it was The Dark Wheel. One of the best is ZB30, Strangers on Friday by Harry Whittington. A haunted man, a frightened woman. They had only each other in the night, and that's a very key book. One of the key books in the series, along with Moran's Woman and The Girl from Hateville. There's a lot of good books in this series in the hard-boiled crime area, and Strangers on Friday is one of the best. Another great one is ZB31, Too Black for Heaven by Day Keene. She knew he was guilty of every sin, lechery, rape, and now incest. There's no murder? What's wrong? What happened? No murder? Or maybe not yet. Number 32 is Rita by Ray Golden. She gave him a choice for his $100,000, her untamed young body or his own sudden death. And that's the cover for that one. Nice one. I like the back cover. Highway Pickup. She was very young, but her eyes showed the corruption of the ages. Her body was ripe, but her soul was shriveled and rotten. And she knew all the tricks of the trade, except how to stay alive. These are hard-boiled crime noir. You can't get better than that. I haven't read Rita, but I am tempted. ZB33 is the Gray Flannel Shroud by Henry Slessor. The blonde was one thing the ad men couldn't fix, and so she had to die. This is from 1959. My copy signed by Henry, who I had as a guest at my book show for a couple of years. He's a great writer. He wrote a lot of short stories, not too many novels, but his writing was always excellent. He was a really, really nice guy, very distinguished gentleman, classy fellow. ZB34 is Frenchie by David Charlson. High living had a price, and she made men pay it for her. All right. This may be a reprint of a digest. I'm pretty sure David Carlson and Frenchie, that title, it's a reprint of a digest. It doesn't say so on it. Now, the interesting thing is that, okay, we're going to go to ZB35, and it's Man Crazy by Whit Harrison, and that's Harry Whittington again, and this was originally Girl on Parole, which was a digest that they reprinted. So they reprinted some of the digests from the 50s, early 50s in this series in the late 50s and 1960. And you also notice that this is the first one of the short size books, which is really odd because almost all the publishers started out with, this size, the shorter size format, and then they went to the larger size, taller format. Zenith seemed to do it backwards. They went from the tall to the short. I don't know why, but they did. Another great book, tough book. She tried to hate them all, but her body wouldn't let her. Okay, so it's Man Crazy, but originally it was Girl on Parole. You can see that they're getting now all into like hard-boiled stuff and really good classic books. Some of them are reprints of earlier classic hard-boiled and crime noir. ZB36 is Kiss and Kill by Richard Deming. ZB37 is The Girl Who Killed Things by Talmadge Powell. Her smoldering beauty masked a thoroughly corrupt soul. And that's that one. I'm dying to see what it says on the back. Looking at her calm violet eyes, no one could guess that young, attractive V. Drake had been bred in a shantytown jungle where hate and greed were the only keys to survival. For now married into a fine old southern family, she hid her savage instincts behind an air of gentility, just as she hid her boldly thrusting body in garden pinafores, until her gutter days caught up with her and the old lust swept her back to hell. Yeah, you don't see writing like that anymore. ZB38, French Alley by Matthew Clay. She sold a bitter grade of love in French Alley. And these later ones are really cool. The short size ones. ZB39 is The Blonde on Borrowed Time by B.X. Sanborn, and he told her there was a naked corpse in her future, but not that it would be her own. And the original title was the Doom Maker. Some of these are reprinted from hardcovers. Some of them are reprinted from earlier paperbacks. Some of them are originals. And now, in the middle of all of this hard-boiled noir crime, you have ZB40, which is Corpus Earthling by Louise Charbonneau. She was marked as the first victim of the Martian invader. And this is a science fiction novel, kind of a science fiction crime, but it's a science fiction novel. Then we go back to ZB41, which is the other one of the two that I don't have, and that's The Wonderful World of Girls, which came out in 1960, and it's a cartoon book, which I do not have. So that's number 41. So we're going to go down to ZB number 42, which is The Violated One by Jack Hanley. Based on an actual case, the intimate story of a woman's struggle to find her way back to normal love. And Jack Hanley wrote a lot of kind of risque, sexy books about how to pick up girls, things like that, things with that kind of titles. Some of them were nonfiction, and so he's an old paperback writer. Now, ZB43 is just like, I don't understand it. It's a movie tie-in. The Hot Sands of Hell by Christopher Landon. 20th Century Fox movie, Desert Attack. And so they went to science fiction. It's like they were trying desperately to do anything that they wanted to see that would work, where they could get a good seller.
Changing that logo.
Did they change the logo?
Well, they all had this Zenith review.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah. Yeah, they got rid of the logo actually. Too bad. I like that. I like that logo. Mm-hmm. They did. Yes. So this is the Zenith book logo, and these books, they don't use it. You just say Zenith book. I don't know why they would do that. And the last book that I have in the series is ZB44, is The Black Satin Jungle by Bart Frame, and the story that grips the garment industry right down to the naked fangs and claws. And I don't know who did the cover. I can't read the artwork. Beautiful, beautiful cover. This originally was Indiscretions of a French Model, and it was I believe, a Croydon digest, but it's definitely, this is reprinted from a digest. So it's given it's interesting because the original digest has a very sexy cover, but this one, the cover here, also has a sexy cover, but you got the guy with the gun, so that it's more of a crime noir look to it than a Good Girl Art sleaze digest. So that was 1960. That was a short run. All 44 of the Zenith books, except for two that I didn't have, but so that's 42. Interesting series from 1958 to 1960. They published a couple of science fiction novels. They published a Western novel. They published a movie tie-in. They published a book about women's health. They published true crime. It was just like they were all over the place in these 44 books. And I think the cartoon books, 2 cartoon books, I think it's interesting that it's an interesting series. There's a lot of really good books in this series for collectors and for readers. and it's just like a series that was kind of never made it. It's a shame, but they never found their niche or their focus in, I think, where they wanted to go. And I think that was a problem with this series. But it's a very collectible series, very cool, great cover art by Nappy and a lot of other really good illustrators. So with that, that's the Zenith series of paperbacks, and hope you enjoyed taking this look at them. It's a cool series, and I want to thank you for looking. Give us a thumbs up and a like, and spread the good word about this channel to your friends and everybody. And subscribe. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.